Listen up, because what I'm about to tell you might be the most heartbreaking yet inspiring story in WNBA history. Sophie Cunningham just got taken out in the most brutal way possible, and now Indiana's entire season hangs by a thread. But before I reveal the shocking details that even Caitlin Clark couldn't believe, make sure you hit that like button if you're Team Fever, because trust me, you're gonna need all the positive energy for what comes next. The Connecticut Sun just declared war on the Indiana Fever, and they chose violence in the most literal sense. What started as a routine Sunday afternoon game turned into an absolute nightmare when Bria Hartley, who's been playing dirty all season long, crashed directly into Sophie Cunningham's knee and left Indiana's toughest warrior writhing in agony on the court. The sound of Sophie's screams echoed through Mohegan Sun Arena as she clutched her right knee, and even the Connecticut fans went silent because they knew this was bad, really bad. Here's what makes this even more infuriating. This wasn't some random accident. Bria Hartley has been getting away with this stuff all season long. Just 2 days ago, she literally yanked Angel Reese down by her ponytail. She's thrown elbows, made reckless plays, and somehow the refs keep letting her stay on the court. When Hartley drove to the basket in the second quarter and lost control, she didn't just fall awkwardly, she crashed directly into Sophie's planted right leg like she was trying to take down a building. The impact was so violent that Sophie immediately collapsed, grabbing her knee while tears streamed down her face. But wait, it gets worse. Sophie's sister Lindsay immediately took to social media with a message that should have every WNBA fan demanding answers. She wrote that the league should focus less on fining players for commenting on poor officiating and more on hiring officials that can actually protect athletes. Even Sophie's mom called out Hartley as a disgruntled player who's plain mean and plays out of control. When your own family has to publicly beg for player safety, you know something's seriously wrong with this league. The injury itself was absolutely sickening to watch unfold in real time. Sophie Cunningham isn't just any player. She's the one who's been standing up for Caitlin Clark all season when opponents try to intimidate her. She's brought a defensive intensity that transformed Indiana from soft to scrappy, and now she's lying on the court, unable to put any weight on her leg, being helped off by trainers while a towel covers her tear-stained face. The fact that she couldn't even walk off under her own power tells you everything about how serious this is. Let me paint you a picture of just how catastrophic this timing is. The Fever are already missing Caitlin Clark for her 13th straight game with a groin injury. Sydney Colson is done for the season with a torn ACL. Aari McDonald is out for the year with a broken foot. They literally just signed Odyssey Sims off the street to a hardship contract because they're running out of warm bodies to put on the court. And now Sophie, who's been averaging over 12 points per game since the All-Star break while shooting over 50% from three, might be joining that injury list. Stephanie White's reaction said it all. When asked about seeing Sophie go down, the Fever coach didn't hold back. Her exact words were two words that we can't fully repeat here, but let's just say they started with holy and ended with something that rhymes with hit. That's when you know it's serious, when your coach can't even keep it together in front of the cameras. Medical experts are already weighing in, and the news isn't good. Sports injury specialist Dr. Brian Sutterer analyzed the footage and said this type of collision could potentially cause an ACL tear, MCL damage, or kneecap injury. Any of those would likely end Sophie's season. The way her knee bent when Hartley's full body weight crashed into it, combined with Sophie's immediate reaction and inability to bear weight, suggests this could be exactly the worst case scenario everyone fears. Here's where the story takes an absolutely insane turn that nobody saw coming. With Sophie out, the Fever down 19 at halftime and trailing by 21 points early in the third quarter, this game was over. The Sun were up 54-33 and cruising. Indiana had missed all 10 of their three-point attempts in the first half and looked completely lost without their emotional leader. Any reasonable person would have turned off the TV and accepted that the Fever's season was basically done. But Kelsey Mitchell had other plans. What happened next was nothing short of miraculous. After scoring just 4 points in the entire first half, Mitchell went absolutely nuclear. She dropped 34 points in the second half and overtime, including 5 three-pointers after missing all 3 attempts in the first half. This wasn't just good shooting. This was Michael Jordan in the finals, Kobe Bryant's 81-point game level of taking over when your team needs you most. She went 11 for 12 from the free throw line, drawing contact and punishing the Sun every time they tried to stop her. The fourth quarter was when Mitchell truly ascended to another level. With 6 minutes and 25 seconds left, Indiana was still down 74-60. That's when Mitchell decided enough was enough. She scored or assisted on virtually every Fever basket down the stretch, including a 3-point play with 44 seconds left that tied the game at 82. The Sun, who had been celebrating what looked like an easy victory just minutes earlier, suddenly looked shell-shocked as this one-woman wrecking crew destroyed everything in her path. But the drama wasn't over yet. Tina Charles hit a turnaround jumper to give Connecticut the lead, but Aaliyah Boston answered right back with a clutch basket that forced overtime. The Sun had multiple chances to put the game away in regulation, but couldn't stop Mitchell's rampage. By this point, even Connecticut's home crowd was starting to appreciate the greatness they were witnessing. Overtime belonged entirely to Kelsey Mitchell. She scored all 10 of Indiana's first points in the extra period, including back-to-back three-pointers that basically ripped the heart out of Connecticut's chest. The first one came from the left wing with a defender draped all over her. The second was a pull-up transition three that had Stephanie White jumping off the bench in disbelief. Then Lexi Hull delivered the dagger, hitting a corner three with 44 seconds left that made it 97 to 90. The final score was 99 to 93, completing the largest comeback in Indiana Fever franchise history. Before this game, WNBA teams were 29 and 1,722 when trailing by 20 or more points. The Fever just did the impossible, and they did it without Sophie Cunningham, without Caitlin Clark, without half their roster. Mitchell's final stat line is something that needs to be framed and put in the Basketball Hall of Fame. 38 points, tying her career high, 6 assists, 11 for 22 from the field, 5 for 8 from three-point range, 11 for 12 from the free throw line. This wasn't just the highest scoring game by any player in the WNBA this season, it was the 11th 30-point game of Mitchell's career, breaking Tamika Catchings' franchise record. Subscribe right now if you haven't already, because what I'm about to tell you about Caitlin Clark's reaction will blow your mind. Even from her sick bed, dealing with her own injury, Caitlin Clark was watching and couldn't contain herself. She tweeted just 2 words that said everything: MVP Kels. Coming from the league's biggest star who hasn't been able to play for almost a month, that acknowledgement meant everything. Even Sophie Cunningham, probably hopped up on pain medication and facing potential season-ending surgery, had to chime in with Kelsey freaking Mitchell in all caps. The supporting cast deserves massive credit too. Odyssey Sims, who literally just joined the team on a hardship contract, dropped 19 points and 7 assists like she'd been running Indiana's offense for years. Aaliyah Boston notched her 15th double-double of the season with 14 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. This was her most complete game of the year, and it came when her team needed it most. Natasha Howard added 18 crucial points, providing the interior presence that kept Connecticut from completely dominating the paint. Stephanie White's coaching was absolutely masterful. The adjustments she made at halftime, the timeout management, the decision to keep feeding Mitchell even when the shots weren't falling early, all of it was championship level coaching. Her ability to keep this depleted roster focused and motivated after watching Sophie get carted off the court speaks volumes about her leadership. This is a coach who's building something special in Indiana. Injuries be damned. But let's not forget the villain in this story. Bria Hartley and the Connecticut Sun have been playing what they call physical basketball all season, but what everyone else calls dirty. The Sun actually brag about how physical they are, like injuring opponents is some badge of honor. This is the same team that has repeatedly dove through players' knees, thrown elbows, and turned basketball games into wrestling matches. The fact that Hartley is still on the court after everything she's done this season is a complete failure by the WNBA officials. The league's response to this injury crisis has been pathetic. Sophie's family is literally begging for better officiating on social media. Players are getting injured left and right because refs refuse to call fouls until someone gets seriously hurt. The Fever alone have lost 4 guards to significant injuries this season. At what point does player safety become more important than letting the game flow? When someone's career ends? When a superstar tears an ACL on national television? What's particularly heartbreaking is knowing what Sophie Cunningham means to this team, and to Caitlin Clark specifically. She's been Caitlin's bodyguard, the one player willing to stand up to anyone who tries to intimidate the rookie sensation. Without Sophie on the court, who's gonna protect Caitlin when she comes back? Who's gonna bring that defensive intensity and competitive fire that's defined the Fever's identity this season? The injury report for Indiana reads like a medical journal at this point. Caitlin Clark, groin injury, 13th game missed, no timetable for return. Sydney Colson, torn ACL, season over. Aari McDonald, broken foot, season over. Sophie Cunningham, right knee injury, MRI pending, season potentially over. They're literally running out of players to put on the court. support. The fact that they won this game with basically a skeleton crew is nothing short of miraculous. Looking at the replay of Sophie's injury makes it even worse. You can see the exact moment Hartley loses control, and instead of trying to avoid contact, she basically uses Sophie's leg as a landing pad. The way Sophie's knee buckles under the impact, the immediate grab for the joint, the inability to put any weight on it afterward, all classic signs of significant ligament damage. Medical experts are already saying this could be an ACL, MCL, or serious meniscus injury. The timing couldn't be worse for Indiana's playoff hopes. They entered Sunday's game having lost 4 of their last 5 contests. They're currently the 7th seed at 19-16, just 2.5 games ahead of the 9th place Los Angeles Sparks with only 9 games left in the regular season. Every single game matters now, and they're trying to hold on without their best players. But here's what makes this team special. They don't quit. They don't make excuses. They don't point fingers. Even with everything stacked against them, they found a way to pull off the impossible. This comeback wasn't just about basketball. It was about heart, determination, and refusing to let circumstances define your outcome. It was about honoring an injured teammate by playing harder than you've ever played before. The numbers from this comeback are absolutely staggering. The Fever shot just 30% in the first half and 0 for 10 from 3. In the second half and overtime, they shot 46% overall and 7 for 12 from beyond the arc. They out-rebounded Connecticut 14-7 on the offensive glass in the second half. They forced crucial turnovers when it mattered most. This was a complete transformation from a team that looked dead in the water to one playing championship caliber basketball. Kelsey Mitchell's performance needs to be put in historical context. She just joined Diana Taurasi as the only players in WNBA history with multiple games of 35 or more points, 6 or more assists, and 5 or more three-pointers. That's the Mount Rushmore of clutch performances. The fact that it came during the most crucial game of Indiana's season, with their playoff hopes on life support and their roster decimated by injuries, makes it even more legendary. The league needs to take a long, hard look at what's happening with player safety. When you have players' families publicly calling out the officiating, when teams are losing multiple players to preventable injuries, when someone like Bria Hartley can continue playing dangerously without consequences, something is fundamentally broken. The WNBA claims to care about growing the game, but how can you grow when your stars are sitting in street clothes because referees won't protect them? Sophie Cunningham's MRI is scheduled for Monday, and the entire basketball world is holding its breath. Early indications from medical experts aren't optimistic. The mechanism of injury, the immediate reaction, the inability to bear weight all point to significant structural damage. If it's an ACL tear, that's typically 9 to 12 months of recovery. MCL damage could be 4 to 8 weeks if it's minor, longer if it's severe. Even a best case scenario probably keeps her out for the remainder of the regular season. The irony is that Sophie has been one of the healthiest players on the roster until now. She's the one who plays through pain, who never complains, who brings it every single night. Since joining Indiana, she's been shooting over 50% from three-point range and providing the kind of veteran leadership that young teams desperately need. Losing her isn't just about statistics, it's about losing the soul of this team's defensive identity. But if this game proved anything, it's that the Indiana Fever refused to die. They've been counted out all season. They've dealt with more adversity than any team should have to face. They've watched their superstar rookie miss most of the year. They've signed players off the street just to field a complete roster. And yet here they are, still fighting, still competing, still finding ways to win when it matters most. The message this sends to the rest of the league is clear. You can knock us down, but we're getting back up. You can injure our players, but we'll find new heroes. You can take 21-point leads, but we'll erase them. This is a team that's being forged in fire, and when they get healthy, when Caitlin Clark returns, when they have their full roster, watch out, because a team that can do what they did on Sunday under those circumstances with that much adversity is capable of anything. The atmosphere in that locker room after the game must have been incredible. Players who barely knew each other's names a week ago celebrating like they just won a championship. Stephanie White trying to process what she just witnessed. Everyone thinking about Sophie, hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. It's these moments that define seasons, that create legends, that turn good teams into great ones. As we wait for news on Sophie's MRI, one thing is certain, the Indiana Fever aren't going down without a fight. They've proven they can overcome any obstacle, beat any odds, and rise to any challenge. Whether Sophie can return this season or not, whether Caitlin Clark makes it back in time for the playoffs or not, this team has shown shown they have the heart of a champion. The real question now is whether the WNBA will finally step up and protect its players. Will they suspend Bria Hartley for her reckless play? Will they implement stricter penalties for dangerous fouls? Will they train officials to call games in a way that prevents these injuries before they happen? Or will they continue to let players like Sophie Cunningham pay the price for their negligence? The basketball world is watching, and we demand answers. This story isn't over, not by a long shot. The Fever have 9 games left to secure their playoff spot, and they're going to need every bit of magic they showed on Sunday to make it happen. But if Kelsey Mitchell's historic performance taught us anything, it's that this team doesn't know the meaning of impossible. They've already made history once. Don't be surprised if they do it again. Like this video if you're praying for Sophie's recovery, and hit that subscribe button because you won't want to miss what happens next in this incredible story. The Indiana Fever's season might have just gotten its defining moment, and trust me, you're going to want to be here for whatever comes next. Because if there's one thing we learned on Sunday, it's that when this team's backs are against the wall, that's when they're at their most dangerous.